All right, grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I am Cleopadra Sophia the Bodhi, and this is going to be a video about a bunch of different topics. If it gets too long, I'll make it two because I have a list here of about 10 things that I need to comment on. So it might end up being two videos, so don't be surprised about that. The very first thing I want to talk about is I did a reading for someone yesterday, and over the weekend, and I spoke with them yesterday. And to my surprise, now I did not know this. Like, I did not know what kind of person this is because you know how I do my readings. They're totally blind. Like, I don't know the person. I just tap into their energy once they give me permission. And then once the permission is exited, then I exit out of their energy. I'm not sticking no tethers in people. I'm not holding on. You know what I mean? And so I did a reading for this person. And as I was doing the reading, I was experiencing a high level of anxiety. And I wasn't exactly sure what the anxiety was related to. And so I had just decided that, okay, this was this person's energy. And I knew it wasn't my energy because I don't have that kind of anxiety. I've done a lot to not have to deal with that. So I was like, this is person's anxiety. They must be like very anxious, and I'm going to tell them that they need to calm down. So even when I made the video regarding his information, I was very aggressive, which I've pretty much toned that down, I feel, a lot at least. If not completely, then I've toned it down a lot. So I'm like, okay, why am I coming at him so aggressively? Like, this is not, if you have people who, you want them to spend money with you, you don't typically go around dogging them out. So I'm like, okay, this is unusual. So I spoke with him yesterday, and there's two things I want to say about this. The first thing is he was a white Hispanic. Now, that is very significant because, as I mentioned, the individual that I talk with on a regular basis is also a white Hispanic. And so I'm wondering, first I'm going to go this way. I'm wondering, why am I attracting white Hispanics? And so I had attempted to talk to somebody about this, but it's so difficult. It's tied up with a lot of difficult energy in this country, okay? So when the whole Trayvon Martin thing came out, and trigger warning, like, or is this triggered where you get trigger warning? Like, trigger warning, okay? Like, if you get triggered by discussions of Trayvon Martin or whatever, please just exit out of this video because I'm not getting involved with all of this emotional stuff, okay? But when this situation occurred now, I literally had my show host, because I was producing a show at the time. He is from Orlando, okay? And Sanford is literally right down the street from Orlando. He's from Orlando. And so as this thing is going on, I'm getting inside information about how things work in that area. Now, mind you, my show host is Haitian, and his DJ that DJs for the show is white. And so we're very aware of all of these different dynamics that's going on, okay? And so I'm talking to him. He's explaining to me what it's like in Orlando, okay? And what kind of person this individual, this young man, minor, right? I'll just call him a minor. This minor was hanging around, and what kind of person this minor was, based on the area, based on facts on the ground, all of this stuff. Because what people don't know is, even in a big city, it's still like a small town in the South. That's how it is in Jacksonville. It's a big city, right? I don't know what the lion thing is today. It's a big city, but it's still like a small town. And so the information I'm getting off the ground is not going to match what people were saying in the public. So I'm not going to get into it. But my main issue was like Zimmerman, this whole thing with like calling him a white Hispanic. And I was like, what is a white Hispanic? I didn't know, because in the DC area, if you're Hispanic, you're Hispanic. They're all white Hispanics. I didn't realize that there were non-white Hispanics, and or even what that meant. Like, because most of the Hispanics in DC, they came from like El Salvador, and like I told you, these race warriors. They're not from Mexico. They're from El Salvador or some other like country, you know, one of those like Guatemala or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so you have these individuals who are called white Hispanics, and somehow they're different from other Hispanics. Good morning. I was confused. I said, what does this even mean? Like, I had no understanding of this. And what really bothered me is that basically they was treating him like he was white, like this was a black on white crime. But he was like, I'm Hispanic. And I was like, how can this possibly be back on white when he's Hispanic? Like, is this not like a race? Like, you know, I hadn't started using the term race warrior, but I was like, is this not a racial thing, like between Hispanics, like black on brown crime? They're trying to make it white on black. It just, I promise, I had no idea like what to make of what these people were saying, because the things did not make any sense. Okay, I think I'm gonna separate this out as a separate video just to make my life easy, and I'm gonna put all of this in here. So okay, so you have Zimmerman being attacked for being a white Hispanic, and you have me saying, well, based on the facts on the ground, I don't see how this was wrong. Okay, that's my assessment. Now, anybody can fit. Now, is it always wrong to take someone's life? 100%. I'm not saying that it was wrong. I'm not saying it was right to take this person's life. But what I am saying is that there more than likely were circumstances that contributed to the fact that this person lost their life. And that is the stuff they never got into. And then the fact that their main witness, that Gentile girl, she wasn't even a witness. Okay, she wasn't there, and she is Haitian. So I've got a problem with all of these different facts. The math ain't mathing, okay? Period. The math is not mathing. And that's the math not mathing me. I'll leave it at that. And so ever since then, I've just been like, okay, this whole, you know, so anyway, like I said, I tried to discuss it with somebody. People are very emotional about this thing because, you know, the whole Obama, what if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin and all of this stuff, right? And I'm just like, okay, but like, I know the inner city, and I'm pretty well aware of how Florida works. And basically everyone here knows, and having been in Florida now for several years, basically everyone knows if you are doing something that you're not supposed to do, you have the potential to lose your life. That's it. That's why you don't do things that you're not supposed to do. You need to have a gun and be ready to shoot, or someone's going to shoot you. Like, that's just the nature of the reality here, okay? So, but anyway, the point of the matter is, ever since then, I've just been holding this whole, okay, but what about this white Hispanic issue? What is this? And so now having, you know, looked at the charts of two different individuals who fall into this category and having a discussion with one of them. Okay, so the discussion I had with the person, without revealing like personal details about them, right? The aggression that I was feeling is due to his profession. And so I was like, okay, so like I never asked until the end of our conversation, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, well, this is my profession. Oh, so being aggressive is your actual profession. Like, that's your profession. Yeah. Like, that's what I do. Okay. All right. Now we have a understanding point. So that is to say, upon finding out what this individual's profession was, I decided that I was like, okay, so I agreed to talk with him on a frequent basis until such time as, things start to work out the way that he needs them to. Because, you know how people are when they come to me. That there's a lot of stuff going on. Usually a lot of people are digging into people's energy and they don't know why things aren't coming together. So I agreed to talk to him for a few more times. So before I went to bed, I was like, okay, so how I handle things. I say, okay, I need to find out how to help this young man. Like, he's trying to be successful. How do I help him? So I ask, I say, can his spirit team please come and let me know how they want me to help him? Well, I proceed to have a dream that I didn't even record. I'm just going to memorialize it here and to say that in this dream, there was like all these people engaging in like gay sex, like men. And I don't know why I had to like be there to observe all of this stuff, but that's what I saw. And I was like, okay, like, so the reason why I didn't record it, because I pinned it as a message and interference from the deceiver. They don't want this individual to be successful, right? So because they don't want him to be successful and I want him to be successful, they would interfere with me and what I'm trying to accomplish so that he is not successful. So I was like, no. Whenever I woke up, because I was just like this deceiver is so predictable. Like, I'm going to need you to at least do something like less predictable. So I woke up, went to the bathroom, and I was like, okay, so what I really need, okay, is if this individual's spirit team wants me to assist him, what I really need is for you all to meet my demands. Like, every entity I interface with, period, I'm like, I have a list of demands I need met. So I need you guys to work on my list of demands. I need to live like a queen. Like, that is I have to live like a queen. If I'm not living like a queen all day, every day, I'm not going to be able to be the most effective that I would like to be with your family member, okay? So I went back to sleep. I didn't really have a dream, but I woke up and I was like, I started thinking, why am I surrounded now by white Hispanics? Like, again, why? What is going on here? Like, I've never known any of these people in my whole life. Literally, in my whole life, I've never known any of these people. And now I'm surrounded by them. So what is that? And so I wanted to bring up the fact that we gave Saul a happy ending, okay? Before I came across the story of Saul and tied him to being possessed by Odin, right? I doubt that anyone had ever made that assessment, like, ever. And so basically Saul was just lost to the annals of history as the person who tried to kill David. You know, that's basically like he was reduced to that, right? And so when I realized, as I've mentioned here, that Saul is actually Paccal Votum, which is the one that is the manager of the vows on the Zolkin calendar. And we know that because, again, in the story of Paccal Votum, if you look him up, it says that he was extremely tall. Like, his sarcophagus is made of pure jade and it is extremely tall, okay? And so the thing that they say about Saul in the Bible is what? He stood a foot over everyone else. And that's why I said, how could Saul hide? How could he hide from whomever when he was literally a foot taller than everyone else. Like, how are you going to hide from somebody when you're a foot taller than everyone else in the crowd? Like, I thought that was just totally ridiculous. But that's what the creator picked. He picked Saul because he was tall. Saul tall. He picked Saul because he was tall. He wanted the people to have someone they could look up to, okay? And so that's why he picked Saul. And it makes sense because Saul didn't want to do it. Again, an unwilling person, he didn't want to do it. And remember, he came from the tribe of Benjamin. So backtrack. Remember, the tribe of Benjamin was forced to take women, like literally steal women from a group of women who was performing a ritual. So what if it was the group of women who was performing the Zolkin ritual, our Jubilee ritual, right? So if all of this stuff takes place in Maya land, which is basically, I say Maya land. It sounds like Maryland to me, but let's say Mexico, okay? Let's just go with the official facts. If all this stuff is, well, he's buried in Mexico, right? So let's say that they ended up in Mexico somehow, whatever, okay? He ends up buried in Mexico. Let's put it that way. We don't really know how anything operates. So he ends up buried in Mexico, okay? In this tomb, tied up with the Zolkin calendar, tied up with all of this stuff. Is it possible, likely, probable, that he became their king, right? Because he was the king of Israel, but maybe we all came together once certain things started happening, right? And so because I was the only one to, number one, rightfully crown CryptodeMedici, because he's the one who's, listen, I've looked at a lot of men's charts. They don't have the capacity. He's the one who has the capacity. This ties back into that dream I had in the spirit realm where they were like, Trump, we want Trump. And I was like, I don't care what y'all want. Where's my money at? I'm not saying anything without giving any money. And so as of last week, I was like, no, he's the one who has to be in charge. He is the one who's supposed to be ruling right now, ruling us as black people. I don't know. I don't know what is going on here, actually. This is why I wanted to document it, because why am I surrounded by white Hispanics? Why am I crowning white Hispanics? Why am I involved in this at all? And I just believe I'm the only one. It's like I am like in this energy of the Witch of Endor, where Saul had gone to the Witch of Endor to contact Samuel. And it's like this whole story is like replaying out again, like in this very different, except, you know, instead of me, like the Witch of Endor, she called on Samuel, right, and brought Samuel back to speak to Saul. I was like, we don't need to do that. Just let me take a look at your information and I'll tell you what you need to know to not die in this thing. Like, because what? Samuel had cursed Saul, right? But even when you're cursed, you can come out of a curse. Like, you don't have to be cursed forever, you know? Like, you can, if you go back to your original contract, you also backtrack out of the curse. They can't apply a curse to you from your original contract. They can only apply, a curse is a new contract. So the curse can only be effective if literally you are in this new contract. So if you want to not be involved in all of that, all you have to do is back yourself out, okay? So I say that to say this. We gave Saul a happy ending, because when I identified that it was Saul and he had these tomb days, okay, that was the Pacao Votum tomb days. And I've taken these very seriously and implemented them into my calendar, and we have begun taking vows based on his suggested schedule. We legitimize Saul as a king, okay? And so in doing that, there's obviously rewards that go along with that. But I just think it's crazy that I had to be surrounded by these white Hispanics in order for this to happen. I still find it to be shocking and amazing. I don't know what all of it means, but I just want to point out that we're all humans on this planet. This is why you can't just discount what someone else says because they're not in your race. Like, I'm not playing these race games anymore at all, whatsoever. And I know that that is not what people like. People always want us to be playing race games. But we don't need that. Right now, we have to move forward, which means that we have to legitimize those people who have to be legitimized. And some people need to be delegitimized. We don't have to worry about that. What we need to be doing is identifying people who are antennas for some of these unresolved issues in the Bible and trying to figure out how to resolve them instead of leaving them unresolved, where literally nobody ever like figures anything out and everything is just chaotic and messy, and all this stuff just has to go away, because as long as people are living in their chaos, they're never moving forward. Like, who else is gonna crown Saul? It was Samuel who crowned Saul. Who else is gonna crown Saul? It has to be someone in that bloodline, in that energy, which means if I don't do it as a quote unquote Sybil, and in the bloodline, in the energetic bloodline of Cleopatra, in the energetic bloodline of Eve, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? If you don't bless somebody, who's going to bless them? Everybody doesn't deserve to suffer. You know, some people must be blessed and you must bless them. That's how it works. So I'm going to do a part 2 with the rest of this. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.